Morning sunlight filters in through the tall, arched windows of the courthouse and splashes a soft gold over the polished wooden benches. The air is thick with anticipation, a weighty tension that presses in on every person within this room. Kody Brown sits at the plaintiff's table, his fingers tapping nervously against the edge of the polished wood. His usual calm, composed demeanor has been replaced by a tightness in his jaw and the flicker of unease in his eyes. Across the room, Christine sits with perfect posture, hands folded in her lap, her jaw clamped tightly, eyes darting between Kody and the judge as if she might find some hidden signal. This is an electric feeling. Every movement, every whispered word seems magnified, as though the walls themselves are holding their collective breath. The courtroom is filled with people she knows, others she does not. Lawyers rustle papers and scan their laptops as they prepare opening remarks. Robyn sits quietly, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of her scarf. She's tense, yet there's a determination in her gaze, a silent resolve to face whatever comes next. Meri, meanwhile, grips the handles of her purse so tightly that her knuckles are white. Her eyes dart nervously around the room, settling briefly on Kody before flicking away. Her emotions, a mix of fear, sorrow, and frustration. Janelle, sitting slightly apart, exudes a quiet confidence, but even she cannot hide the tension radiating from her posture. In walks the judge, and the room instantly goes quiet. She is a tall woman, with no nonsense about her. Her eyes are sharp behind the rimmed glasses. "Court is now in session," she says, her voice low but firm, cutting through murmurs like a knife. The proceedings start, and a hush settles over the room, broken by the soft rustling of papers, an occasional cough as someone tries not to appear nervous. In itself, the case is convoluted, taking in financial disputes, secreted communications, and threats that, if unraveled, will pull down the carefully constructed veneer of this family. The prosecutor, a sharply dressed man exuding confidence, steps forward. "We have evidence that cannot be ignored," he says, sliding a thick folder across the table toward the judge. The weight of the folder seems symbolic, carrying not just documents, but years of secrets, tension, and simmering resentment. Kody's hands hover over the folder, his fingers trembling slightly. He knows what's inside, but he's not ready for the court and the world to see it yet. Christine leans forward, her eyes narrowing as she watches the exchange. There's a spark in her gaze, something fierce and calculated. Robyn fights the urge to react nervously, her heart racing as the room feels smaller with each passing second. Meri's hand shakes as she lifts it to adjust her glasses, trying to keep her cool as her mind races over what may be brought into the light. Even the judge seems to sense a change, her brow furrowed slightly as she moves papers around in the folder, bracing herself for the storm to come. First, the witnesses are called to the stand. Their words are careful and precise, but beneath each utterance is tension. Bit by bit, details unfold, late-night conversations, secret monetary transfers, and decisions that were made without the wife's knowledge. Each disclosure adds another crack to the veneer of family unity. Kody's expression tightens with each disclosure, his eyes flicking nervously toward Christine, who remains impassive but alert. Robyn swallows hard, and Meri's shoulders tense with every word. A sudden hush falls over the room as the prosecutor calls for the piece of evidence to be entered into the record. It's a series of text messages, confidential, previously hidden, now exposed for the first time in open court. The room reacts almost in unison. Robyn gasps softly, covering her mouth with one hand. Meri's eyes widen in disbelief, and Christine leans back, her face a mask of controlled shock. Kody's color drains from his face as he watches the messages projected on the courtroom screen. The words are damning, suggesting betrayals and actions that nobody outside the family could have foreseen. The defense attorney stands up and, in a calm yet firm tone, attempts to diminish the importance of the messages. These texts are circumstantial at best, he argues, though there's an edge of tension in his voice. The prosecutor, however, isn't relenting. He reads out loud each message, underlining hidden motives, secret meetings, and undisclosed financial maneuvering. Every word cuts into the fragile relationships laid bare before the court, like a drop of acid. Their reactions are a study in human emotion. Robyn shuts her eyes for a second, her eyes welling up with tears as she tries to process the accusations. Meri's hands are clutching her purse with such strength that she will surely snap it. Christine's jaw remains firm, but there is an undeniable glint of something, anger, maybe, or vindication, behind her eyes. Even Janelle, who has remained composed to this moment, twists uneasily, her expression attesting to the weight of unfolding drama. As the testimony unfolds, it becomes apparent that there's more at stake than just money or property. The text messages hint at secret alliances, unspoken resentments, and hidden agendas that have been simmering for years. Each revelation chipped away at any image of a united family and exposed fractures that could never fully heal. Kody's usual confidence was gone, replaced by a haunted look that grows more pronounced with each passing moment. Then comes that moment which ripples through the courtroom in shock. A mysterious new witness is brought forward. The family does not know this woman, and she is immediately disconcerting. The judge allows her to speak, and she comes forward with a calm, measured demeanor. But her eyes tell a different story, one of deep involvement and first-person knowledge. She says she has witnessed monetary transactions and private meetings that none of the wives knew existed, and the picture she draws is one of secrecy and deception that will undermine everything the family has built. The witness recounts private discussions, whispered phone calls, late-night meetings that sound innocuous until, in context, they help weave the tapestry of manipulation. The courtroom is listening in hushed tones, silent, absorbing every detail. Christine's expression hardens, her mind working over the implications. Robyn shifts uncomfortably, unable to hide her unease in every flutter of movement. Meri's lips tremble as she utters a quiet, disbelieving no under her breath. Kody's hands are gripping the edge of the table to try and compose himself, but his knuckles have gone white with inner turmoil. Then, in a dramatic twist, the witness produces a letter, sealed, official-looking, and previously unseen, that contains allegations capable of changing the course of the trial. The courtroom gasps en masse. Christine's smirk entirely disappears, her eyes wide with shock. Robyn drums her fingers on her knees. Meri lets out a shaky breath, as though suddenly the weight of years of secrets has been concretized. Kody's face has gone white, with the lines of worry deep. The judge orders a brief recess, indicating that the evidence is grave enough to call for immediate review. Lawyers huddle in whispers, pages rustle, and the air is thick with speculation and anxiety. The wives, left alone for an instant, exchange glances that say so much. Fear, disbelief, and wordless inquiry as to what's next. Though the courtroom may be temporarily empty, the tension lingers on in a heavy, oppressive atmosphere. As the scene fades, the audience is left at a cliffhanger. The mysterious letter, the shocking witness, and the messages that come to light have thrust the family into chaos. Alliances are shifting. Trust is fraying. Every word uttered in this courtroom is as if it may bring in ruin upon them. The question now lingers in the air. Who will make it through this, and who will be finally shattered? The courtroom opens again after the brief recess, but the tension in it is thicker now, almost suffocating. Every eye in that room turned to the witness who had shaken the first session of the trial. The mystery woman, whose mere presence had shifted the dynamics of the case. She comes forward, heels clicking on the waxed floor, the sound of each step echoing ominously, a heartbeat to the next revelation. Her eyes are steady, unflinching, but underneath a storm brews. Some knowledge that could completely unravel the Brown family. Christine leans forward, her sharp gaze locked on the witness. She doesn't blink, her entire body tense, ready to pounce at the first slip. Kody's hands are now sweating, drumming nervously against the edge of the table. Robyn bites her lip to hold back trembling, while Meri's knuckles have turned white from gripping the edge of her purse, as if holding on to some invisible anchor in the sea of chaos. Janelle says nothing, trying to mask her own worry, but the tension radiates off her in waves. The attorney questioning the witness is delicate yet straightforward. Personally, did you see Kody Brown sign those documents? He asks. The witness swallows, her voice slightly quivering, yet she nods. Yes, she says calmly. I saw him sign it, and it was not for the family's benefit, but for something else, something hidden. Her words hung in the air, thick and accusatory. Leaving the courtroom in stony silence, the prosecutor continued, instead, leading the witness through a series of questions that peeled back layer after layer of secrecy. She spoke of private meetings, discussions held behind shut doors, and financial transactions that none of the wives knew a thing about. Every word was like a knife slicing through the tenuous trust the family had been hanging on to for years. Robyn began to tear up. She diverted her gaze for just a moment, unable to bear the tension building up. Meri's lips began to shake, and she mumbled out a shaky, "I can't believe this." Christine's face hardened. Her mind was racing with the next move, calculating each and every possible outcome. As the witness continues, a series of documents is brought forward. Emails, receipts, and signed statements that corroborate her claims. The courtroom murmurs in disbelief. Every new piece of evidence seems to hit Kody harder, his usual calm replaced by growing panic. His eyes dart between the wives, each of whom is reacting in her own way to the unraveling truth. That's when the bombshell comes. The witness pulls out a letter to Kody, a seeming direct threat. The words are chosen with caution, yet deadly in implication, insinuating that someone close to him was the puppeteer of events behind his back, controlling not just money, but emotions and alliances, secrets and lies. Gasps ring through the courtroom, as each word is spoken aloud, dripping with tension. Christine's smirk dissolves into a mask of disbelief. Robyn leans forward, her hands shaking. Meri's eyes glisten with tears, and Kody's face whitens. The judge's voice rises above the din as she calls for order, her gavel pounding against the wooden desk. "This is a serious allegation," she says, her voice firm but controlled. "We will allow the witness to continue, but I expect civility and decorum from everyone present." The room is electric despite the admonition. Attention is a palpable, living thing that seems to squeeze the air out of the space, leaving everyone on edge. The witness now recounts moments of direct confrontation she has witnessed between Kody and the wives. Moments that reveal hidden grievances and simmering resentment. She speaks of late-night phone calls, hushed arguments, and secret meetings with financial advisors that bypass the wives entirely. Every revelation lands like a bomb in the courtroom. Kody swallows hard. Robyn's hands clutch the edge of her chair, and Meri's breath catches. Christine's eyes narrow, a flash of anger crossing her face. The witness pauses, looking directly at the judge. "There's one final thing," she says, her voice shaking a little but full of determination. "I have evidence of a secret meeting that took place last year, one that none of the wives knew. Kody was there, along with someone unexpected, someone who has been influencing decisions for their own gain." The courtroom gasps again. Whispers ripple through the benches as everyone tries to process what has just been revealed. Christine's hands clench into fists under the table, her jaw tight with fury. Robyn covers her mouth with one hand, silent tears streaming down her face. Meri's eyes widen in disbelief, and even Janelle shifts uncomfortably, as if the ground beneath her has just shifted. Kody's face drains of color as he knows this revelation can tear down everything that he has tried to hold together. The attorney presses for details, and the witness responds that there were some backroom financial dealings surrounding the meeting transactions that favored one party while the others were left in the dark. The implications are enormous. Not only does it raise questions about Kody's judgment, but also it opens a window into the betrayals so carefully hidden from public view. The wives glance at each other, their faces reflecting shock and anger. The tension escalates as the recording is played. It captures the voices of people arguing late at night, words spoken in secrecy, promises made and broken, accusations tossed like daggers. The audio fills the courtroom, and the effect is immediate. Robyn covers her ears for a moment, overcome with emotion. Meri's hands shake as she clutches her purse. Christine leans forward, eyes burning with anger, analyzing every word. Even the judge seems to be taken aback by the raw emotion conveyed in the recording. Finally, the witness pulls out her final evidence, a series of letters and photographs that put Kody in secret communications and interactions with someone outside of the family circle. The courtroom falls silent. The only audible sound is that of the audience gasping for air. Kody looks as white as a sheet, while the wives react variously. Shock, denial, hurt, and anger swirl into an emotional cocktail. The implication is simple. Someone from within has been playing with events, and it could have catastrophic outcomes. The session ends dramatically with a cliffhanger. She hints that there is one more layer, something even more explosive that she has not let out. Kody receives her whispered note from his attorney, and his eyes widen in disbelief. The camera stays right on his reaction, leaving the audience on edge, heart pounding, anxious to see what happens next. The stakes are higher than ever, the emotional tension unbearable, and the question lingers: who shall survive the revelations, and who shall be forever changed? The tension in the courtroom is palpable, almost unbearably so. It's as if every secret, every whispered conversation, and every unspoken betrayal has somehow managed to condense into the atmosphere, bearing down on everyone present. Today, it's Meri's turn to take the stand, and the energy in the room subtly shifts. She makes her way to the stand with tentative steps, the sound of each footfall echoing through the silent chamber. The weight of the moment hangs palpably. She knows full well Her words have the potential to alter everything, and the eyes of the family are fixed on her like lasers. Meri clears her throat, attempting to steady her voice, though it shakes at the slightest. I never thought it would come to this, she says in a hushed tone, her voice barely above a whisper. Her hands shake as she clutches the stand at the edge, the knuckles white. The camera lingers on her face, where her eyes glisten with unshed tears, lips tightly compressed, and a mix of fear, sorrow, and the courage to confront truth. Kody sits ramrod straight, his face a mask of tension. The confident, composed man he had projected was gone, replaced by someone both fearful and regretful. Christine's eyes are piercing, unyielding, a storm brewing behind her calm exterior. Robyn leans forward slightly, biting her lip, struggling to maintain composure as the room hangs on every word. Janelle sits quietly, yet her eyes dart between the parties, alert to the slightest shift in tone or expression. Meri begins her long story on the events that have tormented her for years. She speaks of private conversations, arguments that were hidden from public view, and moments of betrayal that cut deeper than money or possessions ever could. Her voice cracks, yet there's a strength beneath the trembling, a determination to be heard, to tell her story. Each word hits like a hammer, reverberating through the silent courtroom. The attorney in charge of the testing of Meri is very patient, seeking answers firmly but delicately. Can you describe what you saw that night? He asks. Meri swallows hard, her eyes well up with tears, and describes a confrontation that had been kept hidden from everyone who was there. Hushed arguments, a secret financial discussion, and words of implied betrayal, manipulation, and heartache that no one outside the room could understand. The court listens, entranced and silent, as though the air itself is waiting for the next revelation. PRP. Robyn squirms in her seat. Her hands clench the edge of her chair, knuckles tight. She looks over at Kody, whose gaze is fixed on Meri, guilt and fear dancing across his features. Christine's jaw is clenched, her expression unreadable, but her eyes are like daggers, sharp and calculating. Meri's voice rises slightly, emotion breaking through her composure. I trusted them, she whispers, her voice shaking, and I was betrayed. There is complete silence now. Every ear leans in to catch her words. The witness continues, revealing a hidden financial trail, late-night calls, and secret meetings. Each disclosure is more shocking than the last. The courtroom erupts in a unified reaction of gasps, murmurs, and quiet exclamations. Kody swallows hard, with beads of sweat forming at his temples. Robyn clamps down on the inside of her cheek to hold back her sob. Christine's eyes narrow, taking in every reaction. Even Janelle leans slightly forward, captivated by the unfolding drama. Then, the bombshell hits. A secret recording is played back. It carries the voices of arguing in the middle of the night, things said in confidence, promises made and then broken, and confessions that no one ever expected to hear. The audio fills the room, echoing from the polished walls, each word a knife into the heart of the family's fragile unity. Robyn covers her face momentarily. Meri is shaking, and Christine leans forward, narrowing her eyes as she analyzes every inflection, every pause, every tremor in the voices. The recording hints at hidden alliances and emotional manipulation. Someone has been pulling the strings behind the scenes, calling in favors and creating friction between the wives. The wives exchange tense glances. Robyn's eyes well up with tears as she whispers under her breath, I can't believe this is happening. Christine's expression hardens into determination, a plan going silently across her mind. Meri swallows hard, trying to keep her composure but failing, tears slipping freely now. Kody's face is pale, his mind racing to calculate the damage, the consequences, the fallout. The witness's testimony culminates when she produces letters and photographs that confirm suspicions of secret communication and hidden alliances. Each piece of evidence falls like a thunderclap in the silent courtroom. Gasps echo, some stifled, others loud, as the reality of what has been happening sinks in. The implication is crystal clear. Someone close to Kody and the wives has been orchestrating events behind the scenes, manipulating trust and deepening the emotional divide. The courtroom is silent once again, all holding their breath. The judge leans forward, narrowing her eyes, the weight of the evidence clear in her expression. She allows a few moments for everyone to absorb the revelations, but it's impossible to escape the tension that grips the room. Meri's final words are soft, almost a whisper, yet they cut through the silence like a blade. I don't know how we move forward from this. I don't know who I can trust anymore. Her vulnerability, her raw honesty, resonates to leave an impression that shall linger long after she steps down from the stand. Just as the session seems to be winding down, the door at the back of the courtroom opens, and another unexpected witness is called. Whispers ripple through the room. The new arrival carries documents, evidence of even more betrayal, more hidden truths, and more fractures in the family's delicate balance. The camera lingers on Kody's reaction, wide eyes, lips pressed tight, a mixture of dread and disbelief painting his face. Robyn and Meri exchange looks of shock and fear. Christine's eyes flash with a mix of anger and curiosity, already calculating her next move. It ends the session on a cliffhanger when the new witness is about to testify, with their revelations promising to turn upside down everything that has come out to that moment. The audience is left hanging, heart pounding, desperate to know what comes next. The air in the courtroom today is practically unbearable. All eyes are fixed on Christine, who gets up to take her stand. There's unmistakable fire in her gaze today, a fierce determination that emanates from her very being. Her movements are deliberate, calculated. Yet, underlying all this, there is some kind of vulnerability, one of quiet acknowledgement of personal stakes. Christine is not here to play defense. She's here to confront years of betrayal, secrecy, and manipulation head-on. Kody sits rigidly at the table, his hands clasped tightly together. The strain shows. The confident man who projects control at all times is cracking under the weight of the courtroom revelations. Robyn's hands shake as she folds them in her lap, trying to stay composed. But like a storm cloud, tension radiates off her. Meri leans forward slightly, clutching her purse, silent tears running down her cheeks. Janelle sits with a facade of calm, but the faint tightening of her jaw belies the anxiety coursing through her. Christine starts to speak, her voice steady and yet laced with emotion. I have been patient for several years, she says sharply, making each word count. I've watched secrets be kept, alliances form, and decisions made that affect every one of us without our knowledge. At this point in the courtroom, ears popped, everyone strained to catch her words. The weight of what she said could not be ignored, and even the judge was leaning forward, fascinated with the growing tempest of emotion. The attorney leading Christine nudges her gently for details. Can you describe these events? He asks. Christine nods, her eyes flashing. She described secret meetings, whispered phone calls, and late-night arguments that had been kept from the family. Her words paint a dramatic picture of manipulation and falsehood, of Kody's decisions behind closed doors and alliances that were hidden from the wives. And each word falls like a sledgehammer, shaking not only the room, but the very foundation of trust in the family. The courtroom gasps as Christine reveals documents showing suspicious financial transfers and secretive agreements. The implications of it all were enormous, not only legally, but emotionally. Robyn's eyes widen in shock. She mutters under her breath, "I never knew." Meri clenches her purse tightly, sobs threatening to spill over. Kody swallows hard as beads of sweat form at his temple, and Christine's gaze locks onto him, a burning mixture of anger, betrayal, and sorrow welling up in her eyes. Then comes the bombshell. Christine reveals a private letter she had recently discovered. Its contents suggest that someone within the family has been manipulating situations to their advantage, dividing people, influencing decisions, and dictating outcomes behind closed doors. The courtroom falls completely silent. Even the judge stops, her eyebrows raised as she digests the seriousness of the accusation. The letter hints at personal betrayals beyond money or property, touching on emotions, trust, and relationships that were cultivated over years. Robyn's hands shake as she clutches them together in her lap. Meri's lips quiver with a whispered, "How could this happen?" Christine's eyes flash with anger and determination. Her usually reserved exterior now shows the raw emotion of a woman pushed to the breaking point. Kody's face is white, his mind racing as he figures the fallout of these new revelations. The energy in the courtroom is electric, charged with shock, with unbelief, with tension from secrets laid out in public. Christine's testimony escalates as she presents evidence of clandestine meetings and late-night communications that suggest more than financial deceit. They hint at emotional manipulation, alliances, and hidden intentions that threaten to destroy family bonds. The courtroom absorbs every detail in stunned silence. Gasps echo across the audience, and even the judge appears taken aback for a moment by the depth of the revelations. Kody attempts to respond, his voice low and defensive, but Christine's evidence leaves him flustered. He looks at Robyn and Meri. The mixture of disbelief, anger, and hurt is etched across their faces. Christine goes further, recounting conversations, phone calls, and confidential interactions that paint a picture of a family fractured not just by decisions, but by deliberate manipulation. With each revelation, the emotional intensity increases, dragging the courtroom into a whirlwind of tension and drama. Then, as the session reaches its peak, Christine delivers the most shocking revelation yet. Kody had secret meetings with an outside party, someone whose involvement has been influencing events in ways the family could never have imagined. The room is silent, the weight of the revelation hanging like a storm cloud. Robyn gasps audibly. Meri's tears flow freely, and Kody's face is ashen. Christine's eyes burn, with a mix of anger and sorrow, as she looks around the room, daring anyone to challenge her account. The judge calls for a short recess to let everyone gather their wits, but the tension is far from dissipated. The lawyers huddle in hushed tones, considering the implications. Glances are exchanged between the wives. Shock, betrayal, and unspoken questions reflect in their eyes. Kody sits in silence, staring at the table, going through every decision, every action, every secret in his head, wondering which ones have now seen the light. Just as the court reconvenes, a secret message is brought in, under a judicial order of secrecy. Its contents indicate that the drama is far from over, with hints at more secrets, deeper betrayals, and further evidence that could turn this trial upside down. The courtroom collectively holds its breath, aware that the events of this day may irreversibly change the family dynamics. The session concludes with a heart-stopping cliffhanger, with Christine glancing toward Kody, narrowing her eyes and whispering something under her breath, meant for him alone. The camera lingers on Kody's reaction, shock, fear, and disbelief crossing his face. The audience is left hanging, desperate to find out what she said, the consequences of that comment, and what secrets will follow in due course. The courtroom feels like it's vibrating with tension, the weight of the previous sessions pressing down on everyone present. Kody sits stiff at the table, hands clenched tightly in front of him, his jaw taut, his eyes scanning the room as though searching for an exit. The confident composure he usually carries is totally gone, replaced by a mix of fear, guilt, and anticipation. Across the room, Robyn leans forward, her fingers nervously intertwining as she tries to stay composed, while her eyes betray the swirling storm of emotions, anger, betrayal, sorrow, and confusion all at once. Meri sits in silence, her purse clutched in a vike-like grip, as if it were a lifeline. Her tears flow unchecked now, coursing down her face as she battles to stay anchored. Janelle, ever the stoic, appears to be composed on the surface. But the slight pursing of her lips and the slight furrow in her brow gives away the fact that even she isn't above the rapidly escalating revelations. Christine sits with an almost predatorily intent pose, her eyes narrowed on Kody, calculating, weighing every word, every gesture, every flicker of emotion crossing his features. The session starts with Kody finally speaking, his voice low and controlled, though there's a tremor beneath the surface. I made mistakes, he admits, each word heavy with the weight of confession. But not everything you're seeing here is as it seems. There are reasons, circumstances. His voice trails off, and for a moment, the courtroom is quiet, hanging on his every word. The wives exchange glances, a mixture of disbelief and skepticism written across their faces. The attorney leading the questioning presses him gently, asking for specifics, for explanations, for truths that Kody has hidden for years. Kody recounts moments that have been misinterpreted, choices made under pressure, and attempts to protect certain members of the family. Yet, each explanation seems to raise more questions than answers. The courtroom fills with tension, the air electric with unspoken accusations, suspicion, and emotional pain. Robyn's voice breaks as she cuts in softly, unable to restrain herself. "We trusted you," she says, her tone heartbreaking, angry. "We relied on you to be honest. And now everything feels like a lie." Her words hang in the air, slicing through the courtroom in raw, emotional intensity. Meri nods, adding her voice, quiet but shaking. I don't know who to believe anymore." Christine leans forward, her gaze firm and unyielding. "Belief isn't enough," she says calmly but cold. "We need the truth, and if it's not coming from you, then it will come out anyway." Though well modulated, her words cut like a razor's edge, laced with accusation through the tense atmosphere. Then the prosecutor calls for a surprise piece of evidence, a collection of emails, photos, and messages recently uncovered. The courtroom gasps as the evidence is projected, revealing meetings, discussions, and hidden alliances that further complicate the story. Kody's face turns white with every new revelation, a a bead of sweat forming on his temples. Robyn buries her face in her hands, shaking her head in incredulity. Meri's quiet sobs pierce the air, and Christine's face sets in granite as she analyzes every detail. The new evidence showed the inner workings of the family: clandestine meetings with advisors, furtive communications, and decisions without the wives' knowledge. The implications of this are huge. The wives are shocked, hurt, angry, and disbelieving in turns, as their faces flash through all these emotions in quick succession. Kody struggles to keep his cool and staunchly tries to explain, but it falls flat under the weight of the evidence. Then comes one stunning revelation after another. A note that insinuates someone outside the family has been manipulating events, feeding information, and deepening rifts for their own good. The courtroom gasps collectively, the silence almost deafening. Robyn looks at Kody, eyes wide with a mixture of betrayal and fear. Meri's hands are trembling as she utters under her breath, I can't believe this." Christine's face hardens, fury and determination etched across it. The judge leans forward, her gavel poised, eyes narrowing at the unfolding drama. "This is serious," she says, her voice calm but firm. "The court will proceed, but I expect order." Despite her words, the emotional intensity in the room is palpable. Every heartbeat seeming louder than the last. Every movement laden with meaning. The session escalates even further when the witness presented in Session 3 returns to deliver testimony that ties together multiple threads, secret alliances, hidden agendas, and manipulations that span months, if not years. Each revelation is more damning than the last. Gasps echo, some stifled, others loud, as the court absorbs the width of the unfolding drama. Kody's face is ashen. He glances at each wife, seeing the pain, disbelief, and anger mirrored back into his eyes. Robyn is shaking as she utters in a whisper, "I don't know if we will ever recover from this." Meri nods, with tears streaming down without constraint, while Christine's gaze is still acutely sharp and unwavering. The session reaches its climax as the witness presents a piece of evidence implicating an unexpectedly different person, sending the trial into complete disarray. A look of shock, betrayal, and confusion contorts the wives' faces in unique ways, each different, yet bound together in shared emotion. Whispers whirl around the courtroom with shifting eyes and charged silence. The session concludes on a heart-stopping cliffhanger. Kody receives a cryptic message under the courtroom table, unseen by anyone else. His face pales as he reads it, eyes widening in disbelief. The camera stays with him, capturing every flicker of fear and realization. The audience is left on edge, desperate to know what the message is saying, who it implicates, and what the fallout will be.